Okay, so we've got modes video number 3. So, good work on staying with me. We've gone through a lot of theory. We've gone through the mode names, where they've come from, how they sound, why they sound the way they do, the intervals found within each one. Now I'm going to actually apply it to an instrument. I'm on the guitar this time, because as you've probably seen from the previous videos, my piano playing is not probably up to scratch to this, so I'm on the guitar. Okay, so we've looked at all the various theoretical things surrounding modes. Now let's look at how we can actually apply this. So I'm going to look at it in 3 different ways. I'm going to look at it from writing a melody point of view. I'm going to look at it from writing a kind of chord sequence point of view. And then I'm going to look at how you can identify if something is modal, so you can maybe improvise over the top of it or create, work over the top. So let's start with melodies. Okay. So let's say, for example, you want to create a melody that harnesses the folky medieval vibes of the Dorian mode. Okay, so I'm going to pick a Dorian just because I have. It doesn't really matter. You could pick any letter. You pick, F sharp, G, B. It doesn't really matter. I've picked A. So the first thing I need to do is work out what notes I can use. We know that A needs to be our tonal center because we want it to sound Dorian. I know that the Dorian mode is the second mode. Okay, so I need to find out what my parent major scale is, or my parent Ionian mode. Okay, so the easy way to do that is to just count backwards or work it out on your instrument. So I'm on an A. I know that the Dorian mode is the second modal degree. I know that the second scale degree of the major scale is a tone away from the root, because it goes tone, tone, semitone, so it's a tone. It's also a major second interval. So I just count backwards and get to a G in this case, because I've moved down a tone from A to get a G. So I know I need to use the notes from G major, but with A as the tonal center. Okay, so I'm just going to hit a lovely A minor chord there, just so it's kind of established that. So let's make a melody up using those notes. So I'm going to pick these. I'm going to go E, D, C, B, A. Okay, da 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 da. Okay, if I play that over the A minor chord, da 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 da, da 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 da. Sounds very lovely, but it doesn't quite have that modal quality yet. And there's a very good reason for that. It's because, if you remember from the previous video, I said there's a very subtle difference between the natural minor scale and the Dorian mode, and it was all about that 6th note. Okay, in A natural minor, the A natural minor goes, but the A Dorian mode has a major 6th interval in it, so it goes. So unless I hit that F sharp, that major 6th interval, it's not going to bring forth that modal quality, because I'm actually just ignoring it. I'm actually kind of dancing around it rather than hitting it on the nose. So you need to make sure you hit what I kind of call the mode identifier. I'm sure there are other names for it, but the thing that identifies it as being that mode. Okay, so let's create another melody that does hit that. So if I go, so I go da 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 da. So I'm hitting that note there, I'm hitting that F sharp, da 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 da. Let's hear how that sounds over the A minor. Da 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 da. Lovely, isn't it? Da 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 da. Lovely, okay. If I were to hit that minor 6th instead and go da 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 da, and go da 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 da, still works. Da 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 da, still totally fine, but it doesn't have that modal quality. Da 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 da, as a kind of folky medieval kind of thing working for it. Again, if you don't think it sounds medieval, that's fine. Just whatever you think it sounds like. To me, it's medieval. So yeah, it's my video. I say it's medieval. So that's melodies, okay? Just decide what mode you're going to use, pick a letter, work out your parent major scale, and then when you're writing that melody, make sure you're hitting those important notes that make it modal. So if you're in Dorian, make sure you're hitting that major 6th. If you're in Phrygian, make sure you're hitting that minor 2nd. If you're in Lydian, the augmented 4th, and so on and so forth. Okay. If you're still uncertain of to which are those special intervals, watch the previous video. I go over all of it. Okay, so that's melodies. That's nice and easy. Okay, so what about writing chord sequences that do the same thing? It's essentially the same process. So let's just go over it. Say, for example, I want to harness the funky jams of the Mixolydian mode. I know I want to be in the Mixolydian mode. I'm going to pick D Mixolydian just because it kind of fits what we're working with. So I need to find my parent Ionian mode, my parent major scale. I know that Mixolydian is the 5th, so if D's 5, then C must be 4, B must be 3, A must be 2, so number 1 again is G. Okay. Again, this works for any key, but I'm using G as the parent major scale both times. So I know that again I can use the notes and thus the chords of G major, but I want to make sure I'm using D as my tonal center. Okay, so I'm going to hit a D major. I need a chord that doesn't appear in D major, in the standard D major diatonic series, because I don't want it to just sound like D major. So I'm going to hit a C. Okay, I'll explain why in a second. And I'm just going to hit a big old G, because I know it sounds great. Okay, so let's just hear those. That Mixolydian chord sequence I just played now is very common in popular music. It's all over the place. Things like that's a D, a C, and a G. It works beautifully. It's in Sweet Child of Mine. It's in She Sells Sanctuary. It's in loads of tunes. Far too many to list on this video. So let's just look at why I picked that C for a second. If I'm in the key of D major, let's just play the D major scale a second. The C is actually a C sharp because it's the major 7th. It's a semitone away from our root. So I can't play a C sharp in the Mixolydian mode, because then it would just sound. It would actually be a C sharp diminished, so it would sound like this. Still works musically, kind of, but it doesn't have that same beautiful ring to it that the Mixolydian mode has. So I'll play the D major one first again. So that's D, C sharp diminished, G. So I'll go. Kind of works. Doesn't really have the same feel to the Mixolydian one, which is this. There's a very good reason for this. Okay. Not to get too technical here, but there's a thing happening here. Okay, the C sharp diminished chord. Okay, the notes in C sharp diminished are C sharp, E, and G. Okay, and it sounds like that. Okay, bit kind of crunchy. By playing a C major, what I'm doing is I'm still in a C major. We've got a C, an E, and a G. So the E and the G don't move. I'm just changing that C sharp to a C. So it's making that crunchy diminished chord just a standard major chord. Because 2 of the notes remain the same, i.e. the E and the G, that C chord gives it a bit of a lift, because rather than being diminished, it's major, and those 2 remaining notes that don't change keep the listener's ear locked in, but with that lift of the major kind of chord sequence there. So we get our beautiful. Okay. So we looked at melodies, we looked at chords. The process is essentially the same. Decide which melody, which mode you're going to use. Work out your parent major scale. Find out what chords or what notes you can use, and then make sure we have a chord or a note that identifies that mode. Simples. Okay. So what if you didn't compose the chord sequence? What if you come to a chord sequence blind and you need to work out whether it's modal or not? Okay. This one does get a little bit kind of more. There's more of a brain process going on with this one, but I'll run through it. So first things first, let's just say we've got the chords of, I'm going to do this in, I'm going to use C as our parent major scale here, but let's just work it out. So let's say we've got E minor, F, and G. Okay. Let's just do E minor and F for a second here. If I just hear an E minor, no, actually let's just put the G in there, why not? If I hit the E minor, I'm naturally just going to assume I'm in the E natural minor scale. Okay. If we go from E minor to G, then there's nothing really telling us what key we're in, because there's only 2 chords there. We could be in E minor. We could actually be in C, because E minor and G both appear in the key of C. We could be just be in any number of kind of different kind of harmonic places. We need another chord to identify, so I'll stick that F in. Okay, so I've got E minor, I've got G, and I've got F. Okay. First things first, if I see E minor and G together, I'm naturally going to assume I'm either in E minor or G, because they both appear there. E minor is the natural minor of G. They go together like peas and carrots, and that would be my natural assumption. Then we see this F. Okay, well, I've got to put this on trial now. I've got to see what parent major scale I'm kind of working for. Now, I know I'm not in E minor because that F doesn't appear in E minor. Thusly, I can't be in G because F doesn't appear in that, so I've got to have a look at it. Okay, I'm going to bring us back to this major, minor, minor, major, major, minor diminished thing that, if you're unsure of that, watch the first chords video, the major keys chords video I put up ages ago. Because that will really help us here. Okay, I'll just run over again. So the chords within any major key are major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Okay, and that will help us work out what mode we're in. Okay, so we've got E minor, G, and F. Okay, so let's just try and work out if we're in E minor first of all. So I'm going to put E minor. I'm going to relate it to the major key to G. Okay, so if we're in G, E minor will be chord 6, G will be chord 1. That totally works. F doesn't fit, because in G major the F is an F sharp diminished, so that won't work. What else could we be in? We could be in D major, because that's got an E minor, that would be chord number 2, that's got G in it, that would be chord number 4, and F doesn't fit. Okay, so what else has it? Well, let's look at that major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished thing here. I've got 2 major chords next to each other. I've got G major and I've got F major. That only ever happens once in the diatonic series. It's major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. So that's got to be chord 5 and that's got to be chord 1. It has to be, because that's the only place it fits. So if G's chord 5, F is chord 4, let's just count down. E's going to be chord 3, D's going to be chord 2. Oh look, C is our parent major scale. Okay, so if C is our parent major scale and E minor is where our song's resolving to, i.e. our tonal center, we're in Phrygian. So I can play my E Phrygian scale, or I can just actually noodle in C major over the top and it'll kind of sound Phrygian-y as long as I make sure that I'm hitting that E a lot. That's quite a lengthy process. Let's just go over that one more time. Let's pick a different chord sequence. Okay, so I'm going to go with B minor and C. Okay, so we've got a B minor and we've got a C. Now again, let's go back to our. In fact, no, I'm going to go B minor and I'm going to go C sharp minor. Let's do that. So B minor and C sharp minor. Okay, so let's go to our major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Major, minor, minor. I've got 2 minor chords next to each other. There's only one place that can be. So it's got to be chords 2 and 3. If chord 3 is C sharp minor, chord 2 is B minor, chord 1 has got to be A. Okay, but again, B minor is our tonal center, so it's the second scale degree, so it's B Dorian, i.e. the notes from A major, but with B as our tonal center. Okay, that bit does take a bit of practice, guys. You do have to kind of know that major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished thing pretty well, but it always stands up. Okay, so you know, look for those indicators to what key you're in. It doesn't just work for modes; it works for working out what key you're in any situation. Okay, so but from a modal context, it's just that little extra step. So just to recap that one more time, look at the chords you've got, apply the major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished thing, analyze it, find what key you're in. You can either use the tricks that I've said, if you've got if you've got 2 minor chords together, 2 major chords together, or even a minor and a major chord together, that will totally work. If you don't have that, then just apply the major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, thing and work out which key you're in. Find your parent major scale, find what the tonal center is, and then you're away with your scales. Okay. I take some of you for guitar lessons, so I'm going to have some scale kind of tabs written out for you. But really, they're online. You can find them if you're too impatient to wait. I hope that all makes sense. There's an awful lot of stuff covered over these 3 videos. As I've said many times in all 3 of them, if you have any questions, just come and find me, and I'm more than happy to go over this on a one-to-one basis. Good work, peeps. Happy moding.